Legislative hearing by the Subcommittee on Fisheries, Wildlife, and Oceans will come to order. The subcommittee is meeting today to hear testimony on 4 pieces of ocean-related legislation. Under Committee Rule 4G, the chairman and the ranking minority member can make opening statements. If any other members have statements, they can be included in the hearing record under unanimous consent. It is my pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon on the first day of Capitol Hill Oceans Week. And I'm thrilled to be a part of this important week that brings together interested people from across our nation to discuss current issues affecting our common ocean and coastal environment. As the representative from an island territory with a rich and deep connection to the ocean, I look forward to our witnesses' testimony today. This afternoon's hearing will focus on 4 bills, each of which represents a step toward implementing or highlighting recommendations made by the U.S. Commission on Ocean Policy. The Commission found that increased scientific knowledge of our oceans and coasts is imperative to achieving sustainable resource use, balanced economic development, and the long-term conservation of marine biodiversity. The Commission also identified a need for greater coordination between federal agencies with ocean and coastal responsibilities. In addition, the Commission concluded that the American public has only a superficial awareness of the ocean environment and that more must be done to build an interested and an engaged public. These bills address these concerns. An example of the lack of coordination between federal agencies is found in the area of ocean and coastal mapping. Coastal mapping and the production of nautical charts are among our oldest government functions. Yet current mapping activities are carried out piecemeal by numerous federal agencies operating with no formal coordination. For example, agencies may use a variety of techniques and frameworks in collecting data and developing products, which make sharing data difficult to impossible. In addition, agencies are not routinely informed of sister agency activities. This has spawned redundant efforts and wasteful spending, and moreover, the information gathered is not easily accessible to the public or to other government agencies. So for this reason, I introduced H.R. 2400, the Ocean and Coastal Mapping Integration Act, to direct the administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to establish an integrated federal ocean and coastal mapping plan for federal waters in the exclusive economic zone, including the territorial sea, the continental shelf, and the Great Lakes. My legislation, which builds on the recommendations of the Commission and the National Research Council, would address these problems by directing the administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to establish, for the first time, an integrated federal ocean and coastal mapping plan within the federal government. And I look forward to hearing from our witnesses on how this legislation can be further perfected. Ocean and coastal mapping, of course, is only one of the bills that we will be hearing about today. H.R. 1834, National Ocean Exploration Program Act, and the National Undersea Research Program Act of 2007 would institutionalize in law 2 important programs, a National Ocean Exploration Program and a National Undersea Research Program, both within NOAA. As a proud co-sponsor of this bill, I would like to thank Mr. Saxton for his continued leadership on this issue in the 110th Congress and for acting on this key recommendation of the U.S. Commission on Ocean Policy. I'm also delighted to have with us today Dr. Robert Ballard, Explorer in Residence at the National Geographic Society, to testify on the importance of these programs. I commend you for your pioneering work in ocean exploration and for your tireless commitment to raise public awareness about the ocean environment. I would also like to commend our other colleagues, our ranking Republican member, Mr. Brown, and our former ranking Democrat member, Mr. Pallone, for their resolutions that draw attention to the importance of clean beaches and NOAA's long history and illustrious history in managing our ocean and coastal resources. I congratulate and thank all of our witnesses for their important contributions, and I look forward today to their testimonies. And now, as chairwoman, I recognize Mr. Brown, the ranking Republican member, for any statement he may have.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this hearing, and I certainly thank the witnesses for coming and look attentive to their statements. It's good that we are holding this hearing this week. The President has declared June 2007 as National Ocean Month, and I know there are many events that would be taking place throughout the country to educate people about how important our oceans and coastlines are to the nation. I'm proud to have joined with my friend Congressman Frank Pallone from New Jersey to introduce HRES 186, which supports the goals and ideals of National Clean Beach Week and recognize the considerable value of American beaches and their role in American culture. As you know, I represent over 75% of the coastline of South Carolina. The tourism industry is a major part of my district's economy, as well as a major part of the economy of the state of South Carolina. My district includes places such as Charleston, Kiowa Island, and Myrtle Beach. And I always say that nobody comes to see Myrtle, they always come to the beach. Also today we will be hearing testimony on 3 important pieces of legislation regarding NOAA. Our nation receives the majority of its products by way of ocean transport vessels, which makes many stops along the way in places such as the Port of Charleston, South Carolina. Safe navigation is dependent upon having survey data to make accurate nautical charts. Mapping and charting activities are conducted by 11 of the federal agencies, the majority of coastal states, local agencies, and academic institutions, and private entities. Coastal and ocean survey data is an important tool for the management and conservation of our coastal resources. However, with all of the entities involved in mapping and charting activities, coordination is paramount to maximize the collection of data and minimize the duplication. Madam Chairwoman, your bill, H.R. 2400, is a good first step in getting us to the goal of mapping an area once and using the data many times. Now, oceans are also one of the least understood areas on Earth. We have all heard about how we know more about the moon and Mars than we do about the oceans here on Earth. As a representative from South Carolina, with much of my district spanning the coastline, I have an affinity for the ocean. I support efforts to explore the ocean for scientific purposes and also those explorations of discovery. We need a national commitment to support our oceans as we do other areas of research and discovery. It is very appropriate that we are hearing testimony today on Mr. Saxton's bill, H.R. 1834, which will authorize the ocean exploration and undersea research programs within NOAA. Finally, Madam Chairwoman, I have introduced HConRes 147. My resolution recognizes NOAA and its predecessor agencies for 200 years of research, service to the people in the United States, and the stewardship of the marine environment. South Carolina's 1st District is home to several outstanding NOAA facilities. One of these facilities is the Hollings Marine Laboratory, which is a world-class NOAA research facility with a mission to provide science and biotechnical applications to sustain, protect, and restore coastal ecosystems. This is a timely hearing, and I look forward to the testimony of our witnesses today. And thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to yield back to balance my time.
I thank the gentleman from South Carolina, the ranking member, Mr. Brown, and I would now like to recognize our witnesses. First, we have Mr. Craig McLean, Deputy Assistant Administrator for Programs and Administration, Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Secondly, Dr. Robert Ballard, President of the Institute of Exploration. Dr. Larry Mayer, Chair of the National Research Council Committee on National Needs for Coastal Mapping and Charting. Dr. J. Frederick Grassley, Director of the Institute of Marine and Coastal Sciences at Rutgers University. Mr. Walter McLeod, President of the Clean Beaches Council, and finally, Mr. Bob Richards, Vice President, Alaska Division of the Fugro Pelagos Incorporated. I want to thank all of the witnesses for being here today, and as Chairwoman, I now recognize Mr. McLean to testify for 5 minutes. I would note for all witnesses that the timing lights on the table will indicate when your time has concluded, and we would appreciate your cooperation in complying with the limits that have been set, as we have many witnesses to hear from today. Be assured that your full written statement will be submitted for the hearing record. The chairwoman would like now to recognize Mr. Saxton.
Madam Chair Lady, I can't think of a thing that hasn't been well said by yourself and by the ranking member. I have an opening statement, so I'll just submit it for the record, if I may.
It is recognized, Mr. Saxton. And we will go now to Mr. McLean. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. Mr. McLean.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Brown, Mr. Saxton, members of the committee. I am Craig McLean, the Deputy Assistant Administrator for Programs and Administration in the Oceanic and Atmospheric Research component of NOAA. And I thank you very much for inviting me here to discuss these very important pieces of legislation. NOAA appreciates the efforts of this committee and supports the programmatic intent of both pieces of legislation. Together, they would provide a solid foundation for the valuable programs in ocean exploration and research and ocean and coastal mapping to meet our nation's needs. My written statement outlines our current ocean exploration, undersea research, and integrated ocean mapping efforts. It explains why this legislation is important to NOAA and provides some of our recommendations. Today, I would like to highlight a few of those key points for you. NOAA's Ocean Exploration and Undersea Research Program contribute to NOAA's missions by discovering new ocean resources, providing researchers with access to the undersea environment, and promoting a greater understanding and knowledge about our oceans. These programs also help us to identify the ocean issues with the potential to become the basis for future missions. In fiscal year 2006, NOAA began to formalize the past and existing programmatic partnerships and synergies between the Office of Ocean Exploration and the National Undersea Research Program by merging these programs into a single one. The result is the Office of Ocean Exploration and Research. By creating a single office, NOAA is capitalizing on the application of both extramural and intramural resources and brings attention to the challenges of ocean exploration and research. The office will also provide a focus for NOAA's advanced undersea technology development efforts. The Office of Ocean Exploration and Research will focus 4 core activities: the exploration in general, the advanced technology development, focused research, and education and outreach. The priorities for this office will be driven primarily by the NOAA priorities and national priorities. These include the NOAA strategic goals, our 5-year research plan, and the National Ocean Research Priorities Plan, as well as additional input provided by stakeholders. The program will continue to develop relationships with other federal agencies, academia, nonprofit institutions, and private sector interests to leverage resources and gain perspective on our national priorities. NOAA supports the intent of H.R. 1834, and we greatly appreciate the effort that this committee has brought to this very important subject. As the bill would establish a coordinated national ocean exploration program and build on the current capability within NOAA, we appreciate this. This legislation would elevate the importance of science-based ocean exploration and undersea technology development as a vital national activity and strengthen federal efforts to pursue it and to support it. I would like to note 2 specific changes to the bill which we can now recommend, which would align the legislation with the creation of the Office of Ocean Exploration and Research. We would encourage a bill structure that recognizes the necessary link between exploration and undersea research within NOAA. Providing one authorization consistent with the President's fiscal year 2008 budget request would recognize the benefit of combining resources to address our nation's pressing ocean exploration and advanced undersea technology challenges. NOAA also believes that we need an undersea research program that services the entire nation through competitively awarded extramural institutional partnerships. The proposed changes offered in our written statement would align the legislation with a primary goal for the Office of Ocean Exploration and Research to serve the nation's undersea research and technology development needs in partnership with the most skilled extramural institutions. I would like to now address NOAA's views on H.R. 2400. NOAA once again greatly appreciates the efforts of this committee and the sponsors, and we support the purpose of H.R. 2400 to improve coordination of mapping activities across the federal agencies and with non-governmental entities. NOAA has a long history of mapping and charting in the ocean waters and conducts a variety of other mapping and geospatial activities that need to be integrated, and these would include habitat mapping, resource mapping, exploratory mapping, and even coastal inundation mapping. We are great supporters, Congressman Brown, of the concept to map once and use many times. The bill calls for a coordinated and comprehensive federal ocean and coastal mapping plan developed by a new NOAA program and interagency committee on ocean and coastal mapping. Currently, NOAA is already working as co-chair along with the Department of Interior and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers through the Joint Subcommittee on Ocean Science and Technology and the Interagency Working Group for Ocean and Coastal Mapping in order to develop a comprehensive inventory of ocean and coastal mapping efforts. The inventory was recommended by the U.S. Ocean Action Plan and will offer a clearinghouse for data and interpretive information. It will also offer a registry of completed projects having been mapped and which would reduce the duplication of efforts and enable greater cooperation. In order to integrate the execution of various mapping activities, common data standards and specifications need to be applied consistently across the federal government. NOAA has extensive experience for establishing and maintaining national standards and datums for hydrographic data, and also can apply this expertise in partnership with our other federal agencies to other mapping data sets as well. In summary, NOAA supports elevating the importance of ocean exploration and advanced undersea research, and we appreciate your efforts to do so. NOAA is also supporting an integrated and ocean mapping activity as a vital national activity. These efforts are necessary to sustain the scientific advancement and innovation needed to maintain our nation's competitive edge in science and technology. They're also important to meet the current and emerging needs of NOAA's mission. NOAA would like to thank Representative Brown, Chairwoman Bordallo, and co-sponsors for recognizing NOAA and its predecessor agencies with House Concurrent Resolution 147. This resolution acknowledges the 200th anniversary of the Survey of the Coast, celebrates NOAA's heritage, and recognizes NOAA and its predecessor agencies for 200 years of research, service, and stewardship. NOAA would further like to thank Representative Pallone and his co-sponsors for their support for the National Clean Beaches Week expressed in House Resolution 186, and we share with them the recognition of the value of American beaches, their role in our culture, our economy, and in our environment. Thank you very much for inviting me and for your time, and I would look forward to answering any questions you might have.
I thank you very much, Mr. McLean, and I now recognize Dr. Ballard to testify for 5 minutes. And just to remind you again, be assured that your full written statement will be submitted for the hearing record if it should run over 5 minutes. Dr. Ballard.
Dear Madam Chairman, Chairwoman, and members of this important committee, it is indeed an honor to be here today to speak in regards to House Resolution 1834. And I want to thank the subcommittee and the staff for the opportunity to offer this testimony. 200 years ago, our country was fortunate to have one of its greatest presidents leading our young nation into an uncharted future. That leader, of course, was President Thomas Jefferson, a remarkable leader, diplomat, president, farmer, and most importantly, a scholar. During this month of the oceans, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is celebrating the 200th anniversary thanks to President Jefferson, who had the foresight to create the Survey of the Coast to map the uncharted waters off our shores. But that was just one of the steps this bold president took, for he had a grand vision for our nation. When Napoleon offered to sell France's Louisiana territory for $15 million to settle his war debt with England, President Jefferson did not hesitate. He accepted that offer. Many historians say that this bold action was the greatest achievement of his presidency. By purchasing the Louisiana territory, he doubled the size of our country, adding 800,000 square miles of land, but that was just the start. Jefferson then took the steps to explore this uncharted landmass. In a confidential letter he sent to his friends in the Senate and House on January 18, 1803, Jefferson laid out his plans to fund, quote, a voyage of discovery, and obtain the funds needed, in his own words, for the purpose of extending the external commerce, interesting words, the external commerce of the United States in such a way as to prevent the obstruction which interested individuals might otherwise previously prepare in its way, unquote. And so we see Jefferson moving boldly by providing funds for the Lewis and Clark expedition, which began in June of 1803. Today, it's a national legacy. 200 years ago, it was politics. Why fund this when the nation has so many other priorities at the time? The Lewis and Clark expedition, of course, was followed by the development of the vast resources of that territory. Because they explored, they were able to develop Anaconda's mining operation in Montana, Chevron's development in oil and gas fields in Wyoming, and open the prairies to allow them to become the farms and ranches that feed not only America, but the hungry mouths of the world. Now consider the contribution that the states that were part of the Louisiana Purchase contribute each year to our nation's economic wealth. We're talking about Alaska, Arkansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Oklahoma, my home state of Kansas, Nebraska, Minnesota, and parts of North and South Dakota, New Mexico, Texas, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and Louisiana. On March 10th, 1983, another bold president took a similar step. On that day, President Ronald Reagan declared a 200-mile exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, for the United States, and once again doubled our territories of our country, all of which lies beneath the sea. I am here to endorse H.R. 1834 and urge swift passage. Nearly 25 years after President Reagan's Proclamation 5030, it is time to mount a modern-day Lewis and Clark expedition of our EEZ. The reason should be obvious. Do we really think that the economic wealth of our nation and its hidden resources lie in the discovered part above the surface of the ocean? Do we really think that that's where it only is? It's absurd to think so. The recent discovery of vast oil and gas reserves in the deep waters of the Gulf of Mexico clearly point to the potential awaiting our nation. But private industry does not mount Lewis and Clark expeditions. Countries do. A vast portion of the unknown America lies beneath the sea that surrounds the territorial trust islands of the Western Pacific. Submerged land masses that many believe contain rich deposits of silver, gold, titanium, zirconium, platinum, copper, nickel, cobalt, and the list goes on, as well as undiscovered biological resources and cultural treasures. Today, many Americans fear the rise of China and India with their growing economies, and indeed these countries do bear watching. But I would prefer to offer hope, not fear. Neither China nor India are ocean explorers. America, on the other hand, is still the global leader of the oceans. But is that likely to last? We must now build on our strength in ocean exploration before other nations take advantage of our inaction. If Jefferson were alive today, he would make ocean exploration a pillar of his presidency. He would see it as an important step that must be taken to allow the oceans to offer up their resources to enrich our economy. Remember why he financed the Lewis and Clark expedition: for the purpose of extending external commerce of the United States. I bet Jefferson would not limit our ocean exploration program to our EEZ. He would form partnerships with third world nations to explore their EEZs, paving the way for future economic partnerships to help manage these newly discovered resources to the benefit of those countries and to ours. Next year, the Oceanus Explorer, America's first ship of exploration, comes online and begins exploring the unknown America. Unwisely, this fledgling program has been grossly underfunded. To put it into perspective, consider that NASA's annual budget to explore the uncharted heavens would support NOAA's present ocean exploration program for 1,639 years. That's 1,639 years, one NASA year of funding would support. Now, I love the heavens above us, and I hope someday to go there. But our destiny is here on planet Earth, or should I say ocean Earth, where there is so much work still to be done. Ask yourselves, what would President Jefferson think if he knew that we have better maps of Mars, as you made reference to, than 50% of our country that lies beneath the sea? I want to celebrate the bold steps Jefferson took 200 years ago, and encourage the bold step this subcommittee is seeking to take with the enactment of H.R. 1834. When I go to sleep tonight, I'll pray that Congress will echo what Jefferson did 200 years ago and pass H.R. 1834, along with funding levels for FY08 that are consistent with the subcommittee is now considering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ballard. I now recognize Dr. Mayer to testify for 5 minutes.
Madam Chairwoman, Ranking Member, and distinguished members of the committee, I thank you for this opportunity to comment on H.R. 2400, the Ocean and Coastal Mapping Integration Act. My name is Larry Mayer. I am a professor and the director of the Center for Coastal and Ocean Mapping Joint Hydrographic Center at the University of New Hampshire. I'm also co-chair with Dr. Ballard of NOAA's Ocean Exploration Advisory Working Group. But I come before you today because I served as the chair of the National Research Council's Committee on National Needs for Coastal Mapping and Charting. The NRC committee made 11 recommendations with respect to increasing the efficiency and the effectiveness of our nation's offshore mapping efforts. Don't worry, I won't go through all of them here. Rather, I'll focus my remarks on the recommendations that are most relevant to H.R. 2400. We are a maritime nation. We depend on the oceans for commerce, for food, for resources, for recreation, for regulating our environment and climate, and for national security. Under Article 76 of the Law of the Sea Treaty, mapping can also serve to extend our sovereignty over seafloor resources far beyond our current 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. 95% of our nation's imports by weight are transported by sea. To assure safe navigation, to explore for, exploit, and preserve our resources, to understand climate change, and to protect our environment and our security, we need accurate maps of our coastal and offshore regions. The techniques used for mapping the seafloor remain virtually unchanged for thousands of years, basically a heavy weight at the end of a rope. By the Second World War, echo sounders became common, but in the past few years, we've seen the evolution of remarkable new multi-beam sonars that provide complete and highly accurate coverage of broad swaths of the seafloor. And here we have an example of what was the state of the art a few years ago in terms of a map off Southern California. But if we look at the new technology, this is the image that it provides of the seafloor of Southern California, a remarkable new picture that provides a new perspective and many, many new insights. These sonar techniques are remarkably effective. They're also complex and expensive. The critical importance of ocean mapping to the well-being of our nation is exemplified by the fact that at least 15 federal agencies are involved in coastal and ocean mapping, often with responsibility shared amongst multiple divisions of the same agency. The result has been an inefficient and often chaotic collection of potentially overlapping and often uncoordinated offshore mapping data sets and products that have been wasteful of resources and frustrating to users. During our deliberations, the NRC committee heard anecdotal evidence that one area in the Gulf of Mexico had been surveyed 6 or 7 times by different groups, most without knowledge that others had already collected similar data. We heard of a state agency that had hired an airplane to map its coastal region, and that plane had to avoid an aircraft using similar equipment mapping the same coast on a federally funded mission. We can't afford this sort of redundant effort. What's clearly needed is an integrated and coordinated process that ensures communication amongst all those involved in offshore mapping. We need standards and protocols for data collection and readily available tools for data transformation and integration. We need to be able to seamlessly connect offshore and onshore data and must make this information easily accessible from a single internet-based portal. There are 2 specific recommendations of our committee that I'd like to bring to your attention. Firstly, we called for a web-accessible national registry of all past, current, and future federally funded offshore mapping activities. Through a quick check of this national registry, those planning surveys could determine if data already exists or if someone is planning on collecting data in a particular region, and thus efforts can be coordinated and redundancy eliminated. Secondly, we were concerned that future coordinated coastal mapping activities establish a consistent geospatial framework that permits seamless mapping from land to sea. Our current inability to produce a seamless map across the land-water interface is a severe impediment to understanding many processes, like coastal flooding, that are continuous across the shoreline. Finally, let me conclude my remarks by offering some personal observations. I'm delighted to see that H.R. 2400 has incorporated many of the recommendations made by the NRC committee and takes important steps towards making the vision outlined by the committee a reality. In a broader sense, the incorporation of our recommendations into prospective legislation will serve as an inspiration to the scientists and engineers who spend countless hours of voluntary service on National Academy panels, as it demonstrates that their efforts are not in vain and that we have a system that's willing to listen and act. I want to thank you for introducing H.R. 2400. It's an excellent first step towards ensuring that we use our fiscal resources wisely to best manage and protect our precious ocean resources. I thank you for inviting me to testify and will be delighted to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Mayer. I now recognize Dr. Grassley to testify for 5 minutes.
Chairman Bordallo, Congressman Saxton, Congressman Brown, members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of H.R. 1834, the National Ocean Exploration Act, and the National Undersea Research Program of 2007. My name is Fred Grassley, and I'm Director of the Institute of Marine and Coastal Sciences at Rutgers University. My experience includes detailed knowledge of both ocean exploration and National Undersea Research programs. In 2001, I served on the President's Panel on Ocean Exploration, which produced the report Discovering the Earth's Final Frontier, U.S. Strategy for Ocean Exploration. From recommendations presented in this report, the Ocean Exploration Program was formed. I also have a great deal of experience with undersea research and the National Undersea Research Program, both from the perspective of a scientist using advanced undersea technologies and as the first director of the Mid-Atlantic Bight NERP program. As members of the committee will recall, the Mid-Atlantic NERP Center has a strong record of research productivity and technology development. A few examples include, in 1996, the Mid-Atlantic Bight Center established the world's first long-term ecosystem observatory, LEO-15. Situated on the Continental Shelf off New Jersey, LEO-15 provides a real-time interface with advanced samplers and sensors, enabling investigators to plug in instruments at guest ports, conduct and modify experiments remotely, and access real-time ocean data via the Internet. Critical research on the fate and effects of deep-sea waste disposal that redefine national waste management strategy, major studies on fish and shellfish habitats, and the effects of trawling on bottom communities have informed stock management efforts. Development of the REMUS autonomous undersea vehicle that enables investigators to conduct detailed underwater surveys of coastal ocean processes and features. Development of an undersea docking capability for the REMUS vehicle. Creation of acclaimed education and outreach programs that capitalize on real-time data streams to enrich science education, teaching of basic skills, and enhancement of ocean literacy among our youth. Development of new samplers and sensors for ocean observing systems via the LEO-15 Underwater Observatory. Novel applications of autonomous undersea vehicles and emerging acoustic technologies to track and monitor fish behavior, migration, and habitat use. I am pleased to support passage of H.R. 1834 with several recommendations. My recommendations fall into 3 areas: the Ocean Exploration Advisory Board, the Ocean Exploration Technology Infrastructure Task Force, and key elements of the National Undersea Research Program that must be preserved to ensure continued program success. The 2 advisory elements proposed to help guide the Ocean Exploration Program, the Ocean Exploration Advisory Committee, and the Ocean Exploration Infrastructure Task Force, should be expanded and applied to the National Undersea Research Program as a separate title of the bill. The Ocean Exploration Advisory Committee should be established following the model now in place for the National Sea Grant College Program, a program similar to NERP in that it is based on a strong partnership with the academic community. The Sea Grant model also contains explicit guidelines on eligibility, experience, and responsibilities of members which merit inclusion in H.R. 1834. The Ocean Exploration Infrastructure Task Force should be expanded to provide advice and guidance on issues related to NERP. One additional key responsibility should be given to the task force to conduct periodic reviews of existing program technology to ensure relevance to program missions. With respect to the National Undersea Research Program, peer-reviewed science programs, a hallmark of the network of regional undersea research centers, have driven the use of advanced technologies such as manned submersibles, ocean observing platforms and technology, and autonomous undersea vehicles. Research supported by NERP responds to a variety of ecosystem management needs identified by NOAA and its research partners. 4 key elements must be maintained to ensure continued success of the NERP program: strong partnerships with the academic community, a rigorous peer review process that leverages the best talent and ideas on behalf of NOAA's management information needs, development of innovative technologies in response to research requirements, and a regional presence that effectively leverages academic and private resources on behalf of NOAA's mission. With respect to H.R. 2400, I fully support the bill and its basic purpose. Of particular note is the establishment of joint centers with the academic community to conduct research developing new mapping technologies. I am also pleased to support the two resolutions before the committee. House Resolution 186 aims to engage the public in raising awareness about the value of beaches, and the House concurrent resolution provides well-deserved recognition to NOAA and its predecessor agencies for their achievements over the past 200 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grassley. I now recognize Mr. McLeod to testify for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair and distinguished members, Mr. Brown and Mr. Saxton, I appreciate the opportunity to appear before this body today at the beginning of Capitol Hill Ocean Week and on World Environment Day. I'm here to discuss a topic important to all Americans. The resolution by this Congress, H.Res. 186, to support National Clean Beaches Week. My name is Walter McLeod, and I appear on behalf of the Clean Beaches Council, a nonprofit organization that successfully works with public and private entities to preserve the Earth's coastal environment. The Clean Beaches Council has undertaken a national campaign to establish this week as an annual celebration. Clean Beaches Week is held annually from June 29th through July 5th to focus public attention on the importance of beaches in American culture. Without question, we are a nation of beach lovers. Each year, approximately 180 million of us make 2 billion visits to ocean, gulf, and inland beaches. And today, more than half the U.S. population lives within 50 miles of the coast. Yet the public is very discerning when it comes to selecting the beaches it prefers. A recent public survey conducted by National Geographic Traveler magazine and Yahoo Travel found that cleanliness was the most important factor in picking which beach to go to. Founded in 2004, National Clean Beaches Week was established to help the discerning public promote the ethic of clean beaches. To date, more than 50 coastal mayors and 30 coastal governors have issued proclamations or resolutions celebrating National Clean Beaches Week. And here on Capitol Hill, nearly 100 members of Congress have co-sponsored House and Senate resolutions supporting the week. Clean Beaches Council seeks to make National Clean Beaches Week into the Earth Day for beaches. We envision the week as a 7-day celebration with people recognizing and embracing the benefits of beaches in their lives. And in that regard, we highlight 4 primary themes during the week. The environment, of course, is central. Beaches provide essential habitats that we share with scores of marine and coastal species. Marine debris, however, is particularly dangerous as it is ingested or it traps more than 250 species of marine life while posing significant health risks to human activity. So during the week, we are strongly urging the public to leave no trace of litter, only footprints at the beach. Our second theme is that of dining, seafood in particular. Seafood is recognized as being extremely rich in protein, vitamin, and mineral content, and is medically proven to improve human health. The high concentration of omega-3 fatty acids alone are believed to prevent heart disease by breaking down cholesterol and are thought to lower the risk of cancer. And for these reasons, the American Heart Association recommends that all Americans eat seafood at least twice a week. So the Clean Beaches Council is encouraging Americans to make smart dining choices during their vacations at the beach. The third theme is fitness. Of the 180 million Americans that visit the beach each year, almost all of us participate in some form of recreation or leisure activity, whether it's boating, swimming, boarding. I don't surf, but I try to boogie board, fishing, or snorkeling. Such activities make beaches the most popular venue of the tourism industry, which contributes over $740 billion to the U.S. economy annually. So during Clean Beaches Week, we will be coordinating activities that promote exercise and a healthy lifestyle commonly associated with the coast. And then finally, travel is our fourth theme, because beaches in this country are mostly a drive market. Each year, Americans make 2 billion trips to the beach, as we mentioned earlier. And of these trips, an estimated 85% occur by automobile. So during the week, we will be emphasizing the importance of smart transportation, carpooling, biking, and using public transportation while people are at the beach. Now, last year, we celebrated National Clean Beaches Week, and we had astounding results. Nearly 50 coastal communities held official events across the country, most of which are included in my written testimony because time doesn't permit me to go through them. But the evidence is emerging. It's very clear that from sea to shining sea, people, given the opportunity to celebrate and embrace the principles behind Clean Beaches Week, are recognizing the importance of our coastlines for generations. To expand these beneficial activities and the ethic of sustainability, the Clean Beaches Council therefore urges Congress to take the initial steps necessary to support National Clean Beaches Week by passing House Resolution 186. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. And finally, I recognize Mr. Richards to testify for 5 minutes.
Ms. My mic. Ms. Chairwoman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm here representing Fugro Pelagos. Fugro Pelagos is a premier provider of high-resolution hydrographic seabed and coastal mapping services and one of the world's foremost hydrographic survey contractors. We do have commercial clients, but we are primarily oriented towards all levels of government, including many of the agencies mentioned in H.R. 2400. These include the National Oceanic Administration, NOS, the Office of Coast Survey, NIMS, the U.S. Navy, the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Geologic Survey, and numerous state, local, and academic agencies. We have been conducting hydrographic surveys for NOAA in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico for the last 9 years and have extensive experience on numerous other survey types. After we began contracting for NOAA, FPI realized that the data sets collected for the purpose of nautical charting had enormous potential for other end users. Since 2000, we've been educating numerous clients on the availability and utility of these high-resolution multi-beam and LiDAR data sets. After years of rolling out data products created for the initial NOAA data, FBI is now able to show that some of the single-focus hydrographic data sets are routinely being used for other purposes. Historic data that were collected for NOAA and supported nautical charting are now being used for tsunami inundation maps and fisheries habitat maps throughout Alaska. We've actually taken NOAA ship data and reprocessed it for a variety of other government clients, which is in the spirit of this bill. We are glad to finally see an effort to coordinate mapping endeavors of federal, state, and local governments. Right now, FPI is in the middle of a pilot project for the state of California which mimics what is in this bill. This project, which includes direct participation by the USGS, the California Geologic Survey, and various universities of the state of California, will provide the highest resolution data possible for all stakeholders with interest within the 3-mile state waters. In the comprehensive meetings last week, the stakeholders included coastal geologists, ecologists, biologists, engineers, geophysicists, geodesists, and administrators, in addition to multiple federal agencies such as NOAA, OCS, and the Army Corps that are in discussions to directly participate in this project. The most recent survey performed for the state of California under this project illustrates the potential for an integrated approach to mapping. During data acquisition, the surveyors found uncharted rocks. These rocks were documented and submitted to NOAA as hazards to navigation. The data set is being processed for backscatter, so the data will be used for fish habitat classification and to assist in the selection of marine protected areas. In addition, the data will be used by geologists looking at the coast and nearshore geology, including faults and tsunami hazards. Finally, the data will be processed to NOAA's hydrographic standards so the data can be applied directly to the chart. Fugro-Pelagos strongly believes the mapping should be completed by qualified professionals and private industry partners selected based upon qualifications in the Brooks Act. We would like more definitive wording that states that the private sector will provide mapping and data processing services, and that any university partnership will perform research and development and advance the use of new technology in mapping. FPI supports the hydrographic centers at universities. We believe that universities should be involved with R&D and should advance the use of remote sensing technologies and should provide graduate education and training. However, we feel it is more appropriate for the private sector and contractors to provide all the mapping and processing services while universities focus on research and development. This is well illustrated by the center that Larry is associated with. They have delivered several data processing techniques and advances that are being used in industry and NOAA worldwide. On behalf of Fugro-Pelagos, I would like to once again thank you for the opportunity to testify on this important bill. Our experience with State of California illustrates that a well-planned, coordinated mapping effort can benefit numerous varied stakeholders. We would like to reiterate our strong support for this bill, but urge you to use stronger language to include the private sector and clearly define the role of the private sector in mapping and processing while supporting universities to consider research and development efforts. Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Richards, for your testimony. And consistent with Committee Rule 3C, the chairwoman will now recognize members for any questions they may wish to ask the witnesses, alternating between the majority and the minority, and allowing 5 minutes each for each member. Should members need more time, we will have a second round of questions. And I will begin by recognizing myself. I have a question for Dr. Ballard. Last year, Dr. Ballard, you testified before this subcommittee and stated that you did not believe that the National Undersea Research Program and Ocean Exploration Program should be merged. Is that still your opinion today?
I've just received the new vision that the NOAA administration has for this merge, so it's very difficult to digest it in 5 minutes. My concern at the time was that the two entities really had expertises in very different realms. That ocean exploration is a blue water, as we say, activity, and in large part exploring the uncharted distant portions of our planet, whereas the NERP program has historically been, as you heard the testimony, regional centers. If that is going to change, and I understand that it is going to change, and maybe I could ask Mr. McLean to comment on the new vision, then I could respond more clearly. But I had concerns about it the way it was, that a merge on the way it was did not suit either groups. And I'm hoping that the new vision that was spelled out today, and this is the first time I've been able to hear it, is actually changing it. So maybe I could direct a question, if possible, on how is that. Maybe he could help explain the new concept, and then I could react to that.
The chair will now recognize Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The combination of these two programs is a road that we've been traveling down and at times not fully realizing it. The synergy between the Undersea Research Program and the Ocean Exploration Program has grown increasingly apparent as we have executed each program since the creation of exploration back in the year 2001. On many expeditions along the coast, in deep water, and even around the world, we've had co-sponsorship from the Undersea Research Program at various centers and also through the Ocean Exploration Program. We've worked together on methane hydrates in the Gulf of Mexico. We've worked on seamounts and Hudson Canyon areas off of the Atlantic, mid-Atlantic, and northeast Atlantic. And we've been together, the Undersea Research Program and the Ocean Exploration Program, as far away as the Kermadec Archipelago, just northeast of New Zealand, exploring amazing undersea chemistries that really are the element of exploratory research and true ocean exploration. So it has become apparent to us of the opportunity and the synergy and also the economy of combining both of these programs into one without losing the separate identity of exploring and the necessary component of advanced cutting-edge research. And we're very optimistic that as we have seen it play out in the past several years, that these programs working institutionally side by side will bring us even greater results for the dollars that we are spending on those programs.
Thank you. Dr. Ballard, do you have an answer?
Having heard that, I still have concerns, particularly since in the area of ocean exploration technology, if you really look at the leaders in the development of exploratory technologies, they are your major blue water oceanographic institutions, Scripps, Woods Hole, University of Rhode Island, University of Washington, which are not a part of that program. So I would just hope that in the area of the development of deep submergence technology to support the ocean exploration program, that it's a more open process and other organizations can make contributions to the ocean exploration program.
Thank you. I have a question for Dr. Mayer. The NRC Committee on National Needs for Coastal Mapping and Charting, as well as the U.S. Commission on Ocean Policy, made many recommendations for improving the nation's mapping and charting capabilities. Do you believe then that H.R. 2400 adequately addresses and incorporates these recommendations?
Thank you. I think that H.R. 2400 is a good initial step. I don't think personally that it goes far enough. And I tried to highlight two areas where I think it falls a bit short. The first is the issue of the continuous, or what we call seamless, connection between offshore charts and onshore maps. If you were now to produce a combination of a USGS topographic map and a NOAA hydrographic chart, it would create a step. And that's done because each organization uses a different reference frame. And we need to really focus on a way to make sure that we can seamlessly connect those, because processes like inundation, flooding, don't know about that step. It doesn't exist. And we need to be able to predict those processes. So that's one area I think that H.R. 2400 can go much further in. And the other, a very simple one, was this call for a national registry of mapping and charting activities.
But at least we have the foot in the door.
Absolutely. It's a great first step.
Thank you very much. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this has been an innocent discussion. And I know this is not in my prepared questions, but I just want to throw out to the panel, we've been talking a lot about global warming and the oceans rising and a lot of these other aspects, but I know NOAA, we're going to celebrate 200 years of at least NOAA, some of their predecessor agencies. How long have we been tracking the ocean rise and fall? Do we have statistics going back 200 years?
We have tidal records, Congressman, that go back. I can answer with greater specificity in a follow-up, but we've been recording tidal elevations since just about the establishment of the Coast Survey going back to 1807. So we have vertical reference marks so that we can trace the history of where sea level has been over that time.
Is it high as it's ever been?
I think that answer varies in terms of what we're looking at over that 200-year period. I think that answer varies depending upon where we are. But I would defer to greater expertise on that subject in terms of what the historical record reflects. Going back to paleontological periods and the like, there have been quite varied sea level elevations over time.
So you don't have the exact records, but you got some projections about what it could have been 1,000 years ago or a million years ago?
Well, I would say on the 1,000-year scale and the like, I think we have some pretty good models and assessments of what water levels would have been, but we have accurate and directly recorded records for certain parts of the country and certain parts of the ocean since the past 200 years.
And I'm pretty excited about trying to get some uniform tracking, map tracking system, and I'm certainly a little encouraged today about maybe the states and the federal and the private sector coming together and trying not to create the same model, but to all work together to create the same model. And so I feel pretty good about that. But I really thank you all for coming. But I'm gonna give the rest of my time to Mr. Saxton. I know he's got a bill up front, and be interested to hear his questions. Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Saxton.
Thank you very much. I just want to first welcome all of you here. It's a great opportunity for us to refresh our, to sharpen our pencils on these ocean matters, which are obviously so important. I particularly want to say welcome to Dr. Grassley, who I see back home quite often. We've had a lot of opportunities to do things together that have to do with coastal and ocean issues, and I want to just make note of thank you that you're here today with us, Dr. Grassley. I just have one question. There's I guess a kind of a broad question. It occurs to me that in the 2 decades that I've been here, technology has just kind of run wild. And Dr. Grassley mentioned Leo 15, which of course is one of the programs that we have worked on together, and that's great technology. But I can remember working on Leo 15, I think 10, 15 years ago. I don't know exactly when Leo was born, but it was quite some time ago. And Leo is a great opportunity for us to get real-time data on the ocean floor off New Jersey's coast, and it was a real step forward. But as I sat and listened to each of you this morning, I thought about what I did this weekend, and I happened to spend the early part of the weekend before I got rained on the Chesapeake Bay. And I could watch that storm coming on my boat. You used to have a radar, and I used to be able to see it when it got within 16 miles, because that's how far my radar reaches out. But before that, I saw a storm coming when the black clouds were there. And because of technology, I saw that storm coming, literally saw it coming when it was in Florida. That's how far technology has come just in the few years that I've been here. So it occurs to me that while Leo was certainly a great step forward, I guess what I want to ask you is, what do you see currently and in the future that will give us access to data that is useful relative to the ocean, whether it's about the question that Mr. Brown asked about ocean rise, or whether it's about species or the ocean bottom, or about minerals and those kinds of things? What are the areas that you see where we can use technology to better understand that 95% of the ocean floor that we don't know much about?
Thank you for the question. It's there are many directions that I could take with it. One of the exciting things recently that happened at the laboratory that has Leo 15, we've expanded our footprint to the entire continental shelf using gliders. Gliders were developed at a number of different institutions, but a lot of the original developmental work was done at our laboratory at Tuckerton. But we've taken advantage of gliders and become a Navy center for glider technology. And we were doing an exercise with the Navy when Hurricane Ernesto came through. Another thing we'd been doing with the high-frequency radar system and other aspects of the observing system that we developed a lot with NERP funds, we we were able to predict sea breeze, and we've been doing it for the power company. And because how much they buy off the grid depends on what the sea breeze will be doing in the summer. But we happen to have somebody in our control room for when we're doing an exercise like this who was an official in New Jersey, and he first of all wanted to know whether the hurricane was going to go into Delaware Bay because they had to get ready for it, and we could say that right away with the data we had. And then we decided to do we had physical oceanographers with models that were bringing the data in real time and saying where it would go. And what we found was, it was just the moment that made us do this, was with the sea breeze model and the underwater information we had and the ocean models, we predicted exactly the track of Hurricane Ernesto, whereas the Weather Service had it quite a lot to the west. So these technologies, it's hard to know where they're going to go and how they're going to be useful. One of the new technologies that started early at our lab, supported by NERP, was a program called Striper Tracker that I know you're very familiar with, which was to put tags on striped bass. And we have technology in the water that every time a fish passes this, the tag gets recorded. It's like Easy Pass for fish. And this network is growing. Well, we've now found that the individual animals travel all the way to Maine and back, and then go back to Maine, one of them did. So we know that their footprint is large, but when they get to the estuary in New Jersey, they go to a specific, this one fish goes to a specific deep area each time it comes back. So we're really learning a lot about fish habitats with new technologies. The Canadian government has just invested hugely in tracking programs, but a lot of the technology and particularly its application developed in the U.S. But there are tremendous numbers of new technologies. A lot of the technologies that are in the Ocean Observatory Initiative of NSF have developed out of NERP technology.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saxton. I have a question for Mr. McLean. Do you believe that an office to coordinate mapping and charting activities across federal government agencies should be institutionalized within the federal government? And if we were to institutionalize a coordinating committee in law, should we institutionalize the committee established under the Joint Subcommittee on Ocean Science and Technology, or should we establish another entity?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chairwoman. We believe that the existing structure of governance that has been recently created under the Ocean Action Plan, and of course the Ocean Action Plan comes from the instruction and encouragement of the Congress for the Ocean Commission, to establish a more unified sense of those 20 agencies that are responsible for some 140 pieces of legislation and laws that compel us to address and manage ocean science and ocean research. We believe that the structure that we have now set up within the executive branch that really brings a level of coordination that we have never seen before to the forefront, that we should have an opportunity to practice this new structure and implement the wisdom of your bill and others that we're discussing here through that existing structure rather than construct something yet additional. And our comments really are just directed towards the expedient delivery of the same result rather than getting to the point of describing the necessary infrastructure. We believe that the infrastructure that has been created through the Joint Subcommittee on Ocean Science and Technology, where we do have a specific subcommittee targeting integrated ocean and coastal mapping for the very same virtues as H.R. 2400 brings forward. So we feel confident in our ability to bring that forward at an interagency level, and thus far, substituting, as the previous discussion made clear, substituting the single point of leadership in NOAA, we are comfortable sharing that leadership with the other major mapping agencies in the federal government. And of course, we do provide opportunities for the private sector and the academic community to be participating and help guide the direction that we move in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chair now recognizes the ranking member, Mr. Brown.
Madam Chair, just a follow-up question on the depth of the ocean. I know that do we have an exact how deep the ocean really is? Is that an exact figure yet, or we're?
As the ocean mapper, I'll take that one. Yes, I think we have certainly an idea of what the average depth of the ocean is, and that's 3,000 meters, so 10,000 feet on that order. We have an idea of where the deepest point in the ocean is.
What's the deepest point?
It's in the Marianas Trench. It's right off Guam, yeah. 11,000.
Next to Guam.
The chair lady is already identified.
11,034 meters.
Do we have enough science to be able to determine the quality of the water at that level versus at the surface? Is it as much salt in the water there as it in the surface? Or I guess I'm looking for other sources of water. I know that we talked about some of the ice caps are melting, and that might have some effect on the freshwater supply at some point. And
I think it's fair to say that we have some idea of the nature of the deep waters, and they're probably saltier than the surface waters.
Saltier.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be fresh down there. But I think it's also fair to say that the deeper and further things get away from the surface, the less we know about it. The more remote it is, the more difficult it is to study.
And we also have a concern about depletion of some of the resources, the fisheries, which is part of our committee here. And do we know much about at that depth whether there is life at all?
Yes, the greatest richness of life in the oceans is on the sea floor, on the abyssal areas. The trenches vary depending on whether there's a lot of productivity above them as to how much life is there. Some of them have kind of a fluid mud over the bottom where there's a lot of productivity, like the Philippine Trench, but the Marianas has a rich lot of life there, but not quite as high a diversity as in the rest of the abyssal plain areas.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. I know that that's not part of the bills we have before us, but I figure we have all this expertise before us. We should take advantage of it, and thank you very much for responding.
I thank the ranking member. I now recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Saxton.
Mr. McLean, Dr. McLean, I was really interested in your testimony. Part of it reminded me of my old friend Dick Armey, who was the leader here, Republican leader for a long time. When he left Congress, he made me a CD of country and western music, and one of the lines in one of the songs said, as you said, someday I want to go to heaven. One of the lines in the song is, yeah, I want to go to heaven, but I don't care to go today. And just you reminded me of that. You also said something that struck me when you compared our ocean funding to NASA, and said that if we were to, we would take at the present rate 1,063 years to use 1 year of NASA funding. It's quite remarkable. And actually, I had intended to ask you a question that's similar to that with regard to NERP. Could you describe the effects of the ongoing budget shortfalls that we see?
The effects of the ongoing challenge that we have in funding the existing undersea research centers, it is certainly applied most heavily to the East Coast centers, and that's caused us some concern. What we have done over the past 2 years, given the fiscal year '06 appropriation, where we basically had no money for the East Coast centers, we looked about elsewhere in NOAA, and we worked with the programs that enjoyed some of the benefits of having the undersea research centers and looked for funds to reallocate in order to help the centers stay open. And we're very hopeful that the goodwill and the recognition of the importance of integrated mapping, exploration, and undersea research that exists in this committee could be extended to the appropriations question, where we are asking for, in the FY08, $27.8 million to try and help put these programs back into the stature in which they belong.
Let me apologize. It was actually Dr. Ballard that I was quoting his opening statement. Would you like to comment on that, Dr. Ballard?
Well, again, it's almost unbelievable, the difference in the exploration of outer space to the exploration of our own planet. And again, being a geologist, I'm looking for resources. I'm looking for ways to enhance our nation's economy, and just as Jefferson did, acquiring the Louisiana Purchase. And I just see America, by not funding its explorations of the oceans, not playing one of its strongest cards. We are a nation with a tremendous maritime history. We are the best explorers on the planet. We're the greatest oceanographers on the planet. And we see China and India's rising economies, and they do not have that history. They do not have that expertise at this moment. But if we fail to act upon our strength, they will develop that strength. And I just see it as an opportunity to work with other countries that do not have the wherewithal to find their resources. So many countries do not have what America has technologically. And through partnerships of helping to not only explore our exclusive economic zone to the benefit of our country, I see working with other countries to explore theirs helps open the door for us to also share in the subsequent steps of exploitation of those resources. I was brought up with the word exploitation was not a bad word, and I don't think it is. And I do serve on the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and believe that there are many areas in the ocean that will prove to be additional sanctuaries, but we cannot ignore 72% of the planet and not take advantage of what that is offering us.
Thank you. Dr. Grassley and Dr. Mayer, let's just do a hypothetical for a minute. If you had 1/3 more to spend on your NERP programs, give us an idea of what you might do.
We always get more proposals than we can fund. The important thing about the NERP program is that it's a competitive, peer-reviewed process, and we always have things that have passed peer review and are very strong programs that we can't fund. Most particularly, we've not been able to fund in our center in New Jersey for the Mid-Atlantic Bight. We haven't been able to fund a large ship program, such as the kind of that Bob talks about. We have in the past done a lot of work, including the work on the mud dump site, which is important for New Jersey. But there are seamounts off our shores. We would like to have done some more work on what's on the seamounts. But there's also many kinds of new technology that we put seed money into. The Remus vehicle that is heavily used by all the services for bottom survey, looking for mines. It's a very successful company. The prototype of that was developed with NERP money. And so there are very few programs other than the National Science Foundation where you can just fund the best idea. And the centers have a very good peer review in the sense that the centers go to their colleagues at other universities outside the region and bring in a group of people that will recognize what's the best. And so there are, thinking of your other question, there are climate change questions to do with fish stocks that people are trying to address. There's a work sampling fish stocks with gliders out with them, trying to understand what the response is to particular features of the ocean that we really didn't know much about until recently.
If we have time, Dr. Mayer.
Okay, if you have time.
Go ahead.
I guess in thinking about what Craig has just said and what Bob has said, I would think there's a place for the NERP program in an exploration mode too, but in that shallow component. Bob talked about the blue water and what we call the brown water. And I think the more we look in detail at even our shallow waters, our coastal waters, places closer to the NERP centers, we're finding that there are still amazing things yet to be discovered there too. And I suspect that an extension of the NERP program could cover maybe that brown water component of the exploration adventure.
No further questions. I thank all of the members for their questions, and I thank the witnesses as well for their testimony and informative answers. Members of the subcommittee may have some additional questions for the witnesses, and we will ask you to respond to these in writing. The hearing record will be held open for 10 days for these responses. If there is no further business before the subcommittee, the chairwoman again thanks the members of the subcommittee and our witnesses. The subcommittee stands adjourned.